nice to be here and nice to see all of you here. So I'm just going to wait for a moment or two until the stream catches up with me, and hopefully that will be shortly. And yes, thank you all for being here for this rather impromptu live session. So the first thing I need to ask is, first of all, can you hear me? I know you can see me because I can see myself. It's very disconcerting seeing yourself on a live stream because you're just a few steps behind in time. But hopefully you can hear me as well. Great. Simon said you can hear me. So now comes the real test, because I'm actually going to plug in another microphone because I'm going to move away from the phone shortly. So see. Can you still hear me now? If you can't, don't worry, I can take off this lapel mic, but it's worth giving it a go. So great. So thank you all for being here. And before we go any further, I wanted to just say a big thank you to Simon, who is with us in the room. I know that Simon has been doing lots of live streams during all of our time in quarantine. I've been lurking in the background. I haven't been participating much for various reasons, but I really appreciate it, and I've enjoyed catching up with other people's live streams as well. So it's great to see so many of you here. Hi, Minikitty. Hi, Erin. Hi, Nancy. Liminal Lark's here. JR's here. The Whispering Well is here. Brianne Love's here. That's great. Lovely to see all of you here. So the reason I'm doing this live is that I recently delivered a workshop in a couple of places, actually. I delivered it at the World Divination Association's conference in December, and they did a whole conference on the subject of manifesting, using tarot cards and oracle cards to help you manifest. So they asked me to present at that, which I did, and I really enjoyed it. And then I delivered this training again to my group members in my Tarot to the Nines Facebook group, and it's gone down really well. And I've been very excited by the subject of this training and the stuff that I've developed, and I've been looking forward to sharing it with you all. And so it's really great to be here now and able to share it. And that basically is the background to it. So let me get into position, because unlike Simon and people like Becca and other live streamers who are very high tech these days and have got their marvelous StreamYard thing and all that kind of stuff, I'm going with good old-fashioned flip chart. I am going to get myself sorted out with a live stream, so I'll be able to live stream to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. But at the moment, I'm still in the dark ages, and what we're doing is we're going with the old-fashioned flip chart stuff. So I hope that's okay. It's so low-tech that in some of these flip charts, I've even got bits of paper stuck to the flip chart so I can pull it off dramatically at the appropriate point. So I'm actually enjoying that more than probably I should. So there's quite a few people here now. So let me just say a little bit, and I've got to put my glasses on for this. Let me say a little bit about what it is that we're going to be doing. So as I said, this is a free pop-up workshop for you, my YouTube subscribers and the tarot community, and I hope that you're going to find this useful. So people have contacted me since being at the other trainings that I've done on this, and I've got some really good feedback. People are saying that they're using this process that I'm about to explain to you in their own readings and their own manifestation practices. Some people are even using it with their clients, if they're coaches or professional tarot readers, and are getting great results. So I'm really excited about that. And the thing that I love most about it is it's a really simple, straightforward system. And I know that you're going to pick it up straight away, and you're going to understand it straight away, and you're going to make it your own because it's very flexible and as well. So that's one of the things that makes it exciting for me. So what do you need to participate? You don't really need very much to participate apart from your own marvelous brains. The other things that you are going to need, though, are, of course, some cards. Tarot cards or oracle cards. It doesn't matter which, whatever you favor. You can have more than one deck with you if you like. In fact, that's kind of encouraged, because as we go through this, there's going to be various exercises, and I'm going to end with a couple of spreads, which we'll go through together. So do have a deck with you and have something to write with. So something that you can take notes just for your own benefit. This isn't obviously a test, but you can make a note for, sounds like Ocean Wave says, I'll see if I can locate my brain. Brains would be helpful for this. probably not essential, but helpful. So paper, pen, pad, cards, so you can follow along. When we get to the end of the overview session, I think what I will do, depending on what time it is, I'll stick around for a bit and we'll take any questions if there are questions. And I also wanted to let you know that at the end of the session, I'm going to give you a download link where you will be able to download the guide that accompanies this presentation. So you don't need to worry about taking loads of notes about what I'm saying because it's all in this guide. The guide is free and it's yours, and I'll give you the link at the end and you will be able to get hold of that. So what this is about is something that I call the ACES method, ACES. And the thing that's kind of interesting about the ACES method is it was actually something that I developed not specifically in relation to tarot, although tarot has very much influenced it. I actually developed it as I was thinking about putting together a new coaching model that I could use in my coaching work when I was working either with clients or if I was training other coaches. And it was very much based on the principle that I had become very focused on, which was the idea that all of the answers that we need when we're going through a coaching process or we're trying to decide what to manifest in our lives, all of the answers are available to us immediately in this present moment. We tend to think that the answers are somewhere out there or maybe a bit ahead in time. And that's not to say that it doesn't take time for them to become apparent, but the answers really come from us and the things that we do, the way that we explore, the inquiry that we do. Hi, Elle. Nice to see you, Elle. BCC, she says. Much easier to say than Brian Cormac Carr. So you can call me BCC. I've been called worse than that, I can tell you. So really it came from this kind of coaching approach. But it also kind of emerged like a bit of a gift from the tarot. So let me tell you the story of how the ACES model came to be. So I was contemplating this model that I was trying to develop. I knew that it had to start from a position of something that emerges from our own awareness and allows us then to make a decision about what we focus on and how we then put energy and action into our goals to move them forward, and then we get results, and then what do we do with the results? So I'd worked out that there was a kind of a 4-stage process, but I didn't really know what the 4 stages were in detail. And as I was thinking about this and trying to take notes on this, I was doing one of the things that I know, or I'm sure many of you do, which was kind of meditatively flicking through my tarot deck. I know that many of you do this. If you just want to kind of chill out and relax and kind of get into that Zen-like space, you flick through your tarot deck, or you shuffle through the tarot deck. And so I was doing this, and as I was doing it, I was kind of compelled, is almost the right word, to pull out the 4 aces and to lay them in front of me in a very particular order. And the order was starting, it wasn't a traditional order. I hope you can read my terrible writing. I'll move it a bit closer in case you can't. And if the lighting's not good, just tell me and I can adjust some of the lights. But it started off with the Ace of Cups. That was the first thing that I had to lay down in front of me. Then it was followed by the Ace of Swords, then the Ace of Wands, and then the Ace of Pentacles. Now, that's not the order that you would normally see the suits appear in a traditional tarot deck. It's not the Golden Dawn order or any of those kind of things. So it felt like a very kind of specific, particular order, and I didn't quite understand why that was. But then it became apparent to me that the 4 aces in this order represented the 4 stages of the coaching model that I was trying to conceptualize. The Ace of Cups representing the pouring forth of awareness, so that place that we all start from, awareness. And then the swords, the Ace of Swords, representing this kind of decision that we have to make, this intellectual choice we have to make about the way that we show up in our lives in order to make things happen. Then there was the rods, and that was about energizing, putting energy and emphasis into our activity in order to move our plans and goals forward. And then Pentacles, the result, that kind of earthy result, what we get for our efforts. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. But then what I realized, and this is the bit that kind of gave me goosebumps, was that awareness, choice, energy, and surrender spells ACES. And I kind of thought, well, there's something in this. So the ACES model was born. And that is what I'm going to talk to you about today. And we're going to go through the ACES model. As I say, at each of the stages, there will be exercises for you to complete so that you can engage with this and make it your own. Now, the thing I really love about this model is it's so adaptable. You can use it in a coaching session if you're working with a client, or a tarot reading session. You start off with where the client's at, what's in their awareness, what is it they have to work with. You help them and guide them to a position where they are able to make a choice about the way to move forward. You can help them determine how to and what energy to put into their goals for moving forward. And then there's the thing that we all have to deal with, that you put energy into something, you have all kinds of aspirations, and for better or worse, you're going to get a result. And sometimes that result is great and it's what you're looking for, and sometimes it is a bit of a surprise, maybe even a bit of a kick in the teeth. What do you do then? What happens if the result isn't what you were expecting, or isn't as good as you were expecting? Well, that's all about acceptance and being able to go back into awareness and work from awareness. So it's a bit like a cycle, a bit like a spiral. And those of you who are very metaphysically inclined, or who are familiar with kind of Buddhist concepts or Taoism and so on, or the Kabbalah and so on, will know that most of the great metaphysical traditions start off from the principle that we think that we are, bodies and matter moving around in this universe of matter, but actually we are more than that. We are awareness. Awareness is like the fundamental aspect of our being. It's like the ground of our being. And if we work with awareness as a first principle, amazing things happen, both in terms of what we can make happen, but also in terms of how we can accept what's happening in our lives. So it works as a coaching model, but it also works almost as a model of the way that reality springs into existence, the way that creation happens. And it reminds us that we are on the cusp of creation. In fact, there is a mantra for each of the stages that I put together. And the mantra for the awareness stage, the Ace of Cups awareness, is that I will attend to what arises in our awareness. So this is about reminding ourselves that what pops up for us, both in terms of our imagination, but also in terms of the circumstances of our life, it's ours, for better or worse. It's what we have to deal with. It's what we're given to engage with and sometimes cope with. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk, gives a lovely quote which I think is really enshrines what this is about. He said, "You are a wonderful manifestation." And I want you to take this in, because he's talking to you as he is saying this, and I'm talking to you. So this is about you. You are a wonderful manifestation. The whole universe has come together to make your existence possible. There is nothing that is not you. So I love that. And of course, some of you know that non-dual teachings and teachers have been a big influence on my work, both my coaching work and my tarot work. So this really chimes with me and makes sense with me, and I think is a really powerful statement. And this involves working with three awarenesses. When it comes to manifesting and working out how to move forward, there are three awarenesses that I think we need to work with. And they are the fact that you are awareness, the realization. You see, did you enjoy that flourish as I removed the amazing bit of paper? It's just so high tech, I can't stand it. It's just amazing. So you are awareness. Awareness is what you are made of. Awareness is what you exist in. There is nothing that happens in your life or in my life that does not come filtered through the awareness. So even if you don't buy into the kind of metaphysical stuff about you are awareness, that's what you're made of, etc., etc., even if you don't buy into that, I think we all have to agree that there is nothing that happens to us, nothing that we go through that doesn't get filtered through our awareness. So it's a very important element of what we are. Also, let me start actually with number 3. You're aware of what you do want. Now, a lot of people think that they don't know what they want. Many of us go through life saying, I don't really know what it is I want, I don't really know how to move forward. But actually, we are aware of what we want. It's just that sometimes that becomes a bit obscured for us. It becomes obscured by the limiting beliefs we have about ourselves, the thoughts about what we think is possible and not possible, and all these kind of things. But we do know what we want, and one of the reasons we know what we want is because we know what we don't want. So if you're aware of what you don't want in your life, in your relationships, in your career, in your health, it's a really good pointer towards what you do want. So the kind of practices that help us get in touch with our awareness and in touch with what we want and in touch with what our goals should be in terms of moving forward are things like meditation, mindfulness, stillness. Stillness and silence are, I think, some of the most powerful spiritual practices one can engage in. If you ever have the opportunity to engage in a period of silence, then I don't just mean, an hour of silence to yourself. I mean maybe a silent retreat. I really encourage you to participate in that kind of thing. It can be very, very powerful. Vision questing, dream work, journaling. Journaling is a great way of getting in touch with our own awareness. So actually expressing to ourselves what it is we need to know and want to know about our lives. Self-coaching. And the things that put us in touch with our bodies are things like yoga, tai chi, qigong, these kind of things that give us that bodily awareness and make us present in our lives. So that's the three kind of awarenesses that we need to get in touch with, and those are the practices that we can use to get in touch with them. So your first exercise, and this is the point at which you grab your cards, if you have got cards with you, and I hope you have. You grab your cards, and we are going to, in this exercise, get in touch with what it is we want to manifest. Now, if you've already got some goals that you're working on, then that's absolutely fine. This is a really good way of just checking out whether you're aligned with those goals, whether you've got them really kind of dialed in and they feel right to you internally. So you don't need to throw out any goals. This is about verification. If you don't have any goals, then this might be a good way of getting in touch with really what it is you would like to focus on and move forward with. So, number one, when you are asked what you would like to manifest, what do you immediately become aware of? What are the words and the images that spring to mind? Just make a note of that. So what springs to your immediate awareness? And you don't necessarily need your cards for this. It might just come to you. But by all means, grab your cards and pull a card and take a breath. Just contemplate. When asked what you'd like to manifest in your life, what do you immediately become aware of? Guido just said it's a whole presentation. It is a whole presentation. There are more flip chart sheets to come. That's number one. So use your card to make a note, anything that springs to mind. Then number two, there's a quote from the American career coach Barbara Sher. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. And she's one of my favorite teachers. I was fortunate enough to study with her. And she pointed out that the things that we love reveal our talents. She said what you love is what you're gifted at, and there's no exception. And what she meant by that was that the things that we love and that particularly draw our attention, then, those are clues to what you are here to do. They're clues about what you are for in this life. So make a list of the things that you love, no matter how insignificant. Just make a note of the things you love. I suspect for many of you on this call, tarot and oracle decks, or on this live stream, tarot and oracle decks will be in your list of surprise Soulstool Tarot says, what a surprise. I suspect that you've got tarot and things like that in your list. So that's fine. Anything else, make a note. And really, you would need to take a bit of time over this. You would need to take a bit of time to really contemplate and go deep. In fact, when I work with people who are struggling to find a goal, when I have coaching clients who are struggling to find a goal, one of the pieces of homework I give them is I ask them to get hold of a little notebook or use the notes on their iPhone, and I ask them for a period of at least 2 weeks, without overthinking it, to just every time they find something that they love or notice something they love, no matter how insignificant. It could be the color of the sky, it could be the taste of a good meal, it could be a phone call from a friend, it could be something they saw on television, it could be an accent they hear, it could be a leaf on the ground, it could be anything. They make a note of it. They make a note of it, they don't overthink it, they just make a note of it. They write down as much detail as they can about that thing that they thought, I love that, and they make a note of it. And then at the end of the period, 2 weeks, longer if you can manage, At the end of the period, you look back and you see if there are any threads and themes and patterns in the things you love. And almost always there is. But you need enough time and enough detail to be able to see those threads and themes. You need to contemplate enough to be able to see the patterns. So don't rush this one. We're just doing this at high speed, but you've got time, and you will have time when you have the guide after this to do it in more depth. So make a note of the things you love. Notice if there are any patterns. By all means, pull the cards, because they can help you as well. And then finally, for this exercise, and again, you can pull your cards if this helps. Considering all of the above, what single thing do you most want to manifest in your life at this time? So this is the goal that you might want to work on for the rest of this presentation. What single thing would you most want to manifest at this time? And you don't have to get this 100% right. You don't have to come up with a perfect answer, as long as it's genuine to you. So it can be one of the things you've written down or something else. But just as you contemplate that, what springs to mind? What single thing do you most want to manifest? And by all means, pull a card or more than one card and see what they offer up to you. Okay, that's awareness. That's just about resting in awareness, becoming aware of what we're aware of, because those are the clues. It's like the beginning of the trail of breadcrumbs that leads us to our purpose, to our goals, to our dreams. And you can start really small. It does not have to be dramatic. Okay, moving to C, choice. Now, I'm not going to spend very much time on this one, because I think I'm kind of preaching to the converted. I think the people that are here are generally people who, the fact that you are interested in things like tarot, I know that you're interested in being proactive in your lives and acting on guidance and taking responsibility for engaging with the mystery of life so that you can move forward. So this is just a reminder to us that we have that choice. And the mantra for the C part of the ACES model is, I make the choice to be a conscious co-creator in my life. And actually, there are two key choices which I think are particularly empowering. And that first one is to take a conscious co-creating role in life, but to commit to it, to actually say to yourself and announce to yourself, I am a conscious co-creator in my life. And then the second one is making the choice to focus on furthering your goals. So coming up with a goal is one thing, being aware of what you're aware of is one thing, paying attention to the clues about what you are here to do is one thing, and even believing that you have the choice to do that is one thing. But focusing on it, choosing to focus on it and move it forward, which is what the next step is about, is so powerful. So I pose a question to you here, and you can declare it internally to yourself if you like. You can declare it in the chat if you like as well. Do you choose? Do you choose to be a conscious co-creator in your life? And do you choose to focus on furthering your goals? If you do, you say, I do. Be careful in case you propose to somebody or they propose to you, and you never know what you might be answering. Simon's already said, I do. So Simon, well, that's marvelous. Perfect. That's exactly it. You're declaring it externally. Very powerful. It's powerful to declare it externally, because whenever we declare something like that externally, we're really declaring it to ourselves. And if we declare it to ourselves, there is nothing more powerful than that. So that is C. But even this is not, and I'm seeing lots of I do's, which is fantastic. I do indeed, says Liminal Lark. Brilliant. So we've become aware of what we're aware of. We've made the choice to be a conscious co-creator and to focus on furthering our goals. However, that's not enough. We need to do more. And this is where the magic happens. The E of the ACES model is energy. And there are two parts to this. This is very exciting. I love this bit. I don't really have favorites in my ACES model. I love them all. They're all equally important. But this is just brilliant. And I know that some of you are already in this space, and you're about to see that some of the things you already do are absolutely in line with this. So the mantra here is, I energize what supports me, and I untangle what doesn't. Now, we'll get to the untangle bit in a second. But I mentioned already that we're here in a group of like-minded spirits. So we've got tarotists here, we've got witches, we've got diviners, we've got astrologers, we've got energy workers, we've got mediums, we've got herbalists. There's all kinds of different people in this community who are absolutely in line with this kind of energizing of intent and purpose. But it's also about practical energy. So it kind of, and I'm not saying this in any kind of pejorative way, because this absolutely applies to me. So while we're doing all of our kind of, high level tarot energy stuff and our, energy work and our astrology and our magic and our, manifestation affirmations and law of attraction and all that kind of wonderful stuff that's really, really powerful and absolutely has a place here, it still never ceases to amaze me how many of us, and I certainly include myself in this, fail to do some of the basic energy stuff, like the energy stuff of eating properly so we have nourishment energy, getting enough sleep so that we have physical energy, managing our money and our finances and our resources so that we have financial energy, managing our timetables, our commitments, so that we have time energy. One of the things that many people in this community, and I know that I am absolutely guilty of this, forget, is that there's such a thing as a calendar. I know that many of us have planners, and they can be put to good use here. But this is about organizing ourselves, both practically and at that kind of metaphysical, spiritual level, so that we energize the things that we want to move forward in our life. And that includes all kinds of stuff that I know you're familiar with: setting goals. Let me get this off. Setting goals, planning, managing our time, vision boards. At the end of this presentation, we're going to do a kind of tarot vision or oracle vision board exercise. I'm going to walk you through an exercise where you will vision board your goal using your tarot deck or decks. Rituals, moon work, working with the cycles of the moon or the cycles of the wheel of the year. Brilliant way of energizing our intent and putting intention into the things that we want to manifest by acknowledging that we're part of an overall cycle. We are part of that cycle of the moon, the wheel of the year, all that kind of thing. Process work, inquiry-based stress reduction, all of these things are things that you can, and you'll have many of your own that you can add to this list, that you can add so that you energize the things that you are intending to move forward with. So, exercise time, grab your cards again. We are doing an energy exercise. Let me just have a sip of tea while you grab your cards. Cheers, everyone. Cheers. So, deep breath. Take a deep breath, and I want you to, you can draw 3 cards for this, because there are 3 things to decide in terms of channeling your energy. And make sure you book this guy for Tarot-thon. Oh, that's very kind of you, Elemental Cartomancy. I have actually done Tarot-thon. I need to put my teeth in there. Tarot-thon does not trip off the tongue quite as easily as it should, especially at 10:26 on a Saturday night here. I did Tarot-thon, I think the 2nd year that Simon did it, and had such a good time. I really enjoyed it. It's just such a brilliant initiative. So again, huge props to Simon for pulling us all together in that marvelous way. Anyway, back to the energy exercise. I got distracted by myself there. So take a deep breath, and there are 3 things to decide in terms of channeling your energy. And considering what you want to manifest, remember that thing that you said that you wanted to manifest, that one goal, that one manifestation thing. Considering that, just consider into what actions do you already know you need to put some energy. And I say you already know because I know that when there's something I want to do and need to do, even if I feel a little bit trepidatious about it or feel that I can't do it, it's almost always the case that I have a list of about 3 or 4 things that I know I need to do to move it forward. It doesn't mean I do them, of course. I might feel a little bit inhibited from doing them for various reasons, but I know what they are. It's very powerful to acknowledge that to yourself and to write it down. So considering what you want to manifest, into what actions do you now need to pour your energy? Make a list. And of course, this is where the cards come in so handy, because you might feel a bit blocked about this. You might be struggling a bit to think what they are. You might not get a very long list. So if you need to, pull some cards to prompt you. What are the cards telling you that you know you need to manifest? Remember, this is not about the cards giving you an answer. This is about the cards pulling your answer out of you. I'm a big proponent of the idea that the cards, they ask us questions more than they give us answers. So think about the question that the card is asking you when you pull it as you consider your actions. Number 2, again, you're going to make a list, and this one is, what practices do you need to pursue in order to support those actions? So the actions you've just made a list about, what are the practices that you need to pursue in order to support them? And these can be mundane actions and they can be ethereal. So they can be the practical things, like, getting more sleep, eating better, clearing some time in our calendar, making time for, focusing on our manifestation work, whatever it is. But it can also be the more ethereal things. So taking time out to get that, natal chart horoscope reading that you've always wanted, or sitting down and familiarizing yourself with the cycle of the wheel of the year and the cycle of the moon and where you're at and how you can use those energies if that's what you're into. So this is about making a list of the practices you know you could use to further your actions. And then the third one, and this is the most practical one of all, you don't need to do this right now, but you need to commit to doing it, and that is making time on your calendar for this work. So actually mark a time on your calendar or in your wonderful planner or bullet journal, whatever you use, for taking the actions that you've just noted. That's what makes it real. That's what makes it happen. It's writing it down on paper, committing it to a time slot that you can keep to. Make it realistic for yourself. Don't overstretch yourself. Just make it realistic, a realistic time from now and a realistic amount of time on your calendar that will allow you to move forward. If you did that, you have done more to energize your manifestation potential than you can possibly know. It is huge. The combination of making the time and then adding in these energy practices is just colossal. Lots of people have contacted me about this exercise alone and said that this has just shunted them forward in ways that they didn't anticipate, if you do it. Okay, so the other thing I mentioned was the mantra, remember, was I energize what supports me and I untangle what doesn't. The untangling bit is as you move forward, as you're putting energy into your goals and you're moving forward, the thing that's tricky is you will hit an obstacle. There is no doubt about it. That's the way that life works. Obstacles appear, and this is going to sound weird, but I love obstacles. It's true, I love obstacles. You get external obstacles or internal obstacles. I love them so much. I wrote a book a few years ago about finding a new job. This is my book, How to Find Your Vital Vocation. It's all about finding a new job or changing your job if you need to. I love obstacles so much, I wrote 3 chapters on obstacles in that book. I'm not kidding. I think I can't remember whether it was external or internal. I think the internal one I had to split into 2 chapters because I had so many different practices I wanted to talk to people about. It's really, really powerful to work with obstacles in a constructive way, because obstacles are a pain in the neck when they happen and when they appear. The external ones, like life circumstances, like a massive, great, big, huge pandemic that just throws all of our lives into chaos, and really, in some cases, really throws very difficult circumstances in the way of many people. And then there's internal obstacles, the mind chatter that tells us we're not good enough, we can't do this, we're going to get it wrong, something terrible is going to happen, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff that can be just chattering away annoyingly in our heads. They're real. They're not false. They're real obstacles, and they need to be worked with. So let me read you. I'm sorry to quote not really sorry to quote myself, but I am going to quote myself from my book. 2 quotes from the book about obstacles. This tells you what I think of obstacles. Internal obstacles always appear for a reason. Your first task is to uncover that reason so you can use the information to your advantage. That's always possible, I promise you. So that was about internal obstacles. And then external obstacles, remember, people, circumstances, bosses, jobs, climate, things in the real world, if you like. External obstacles can be got round or over or removed altogether. Sometimes, with a shift in perspective, they evaporate of their own accord, and sometimes, if they don't disappear, they're our signal to change direction. It may not feel like it at the time, but they can often be an important part of the process of moving our lives onto the right path. So that's what I think about obstacles, and you'll never guess what. I have an exercise for you about how to untangle your external obstacles first. Now, there is no magic bullet here, and there's no literal bullet either. I'm not suggesting you take out a hit or a contract on somebody. If you've got somebody in your life that's in the way, when I say they need to be removed, I don't mean that literally. So, this is about learning to engage in an appropriate way with interpersonal skills and influence that gets you what you want. So this is common sense stuff, but again, use your cards if it would be helpful. So considering the external obstacles you're already aware of, what steps do you already know that you can take to deal with those obstacles? What steps do you already know you need to take to untangle those external obstacles? A bit like we did before, some of this is actually, about stuff you already know to do, but declaring it in the world, declaring it on paper, very powerful. When you see it written down, there's a real chance that you'll actually do it. So take time to think about the steps that you already know you need to take to get past your external obstacle. So if you're in a job, for example, that you hate and you can't really see a way out, and maybe you think about something you'd like to do instead, but you think that's just so far off. Okay, the so far off thing, if you're going to get to it at all, you need to start from where you are and you need to take a step towards it. So work backwards, work out what is it that you need to do before you get to that thing, and before that, and before that, and before that, until you get to the thing you need to do from here. Write it down. That's your next step. It can be something so small. It can be, if you're interested in training for a different career, it can be, tomorrow I'm going to go on the internet and research how to train for that different career. So you do what you need to do. So make a note. And then number 2, what information and support would help you dislodge that obstacle just a little bit? What new information and support is needed to help you dislodge the obstacle just a little bit? Okay? Make a note. Again, use your card if you need to. And then number 3, how might you begin? How might you start? What's the next thing you could do tomorrow, maybe even tonight, to move yourself forward in terms of moving past these external obstacles? Just pick one and choose to work with that, and just write down those steps, and you are already a step further. And again, your cards can help you. So those are external obstacles. Sometimes, though, the most tenacious obstacles we have to deal with are our internal obstacles, those things that are inside our mind and inside our hearts that stop us moving forward. So I want you to just consider that and think again, how you can work with those. So pick an internal obstacle that you're struggling with, and this process is one that I've actually adapted from a process called the work of Byron Katie, which some of you will be aware of. I've spoken about that process on my channel before. I trained with Byron Katie a few years ago. She is a non-dual teacher, a bit like Eckhart Tolle. She shares this process that she calls the work of Byron Katie. And that process is 4 questions on what she calls a turnaround. So you take a limiting belief, you write it down on paper, and you put it up against 4 questions. And the questions are, is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? What happens when you think the thought, the limiting belief? What happens in your life? How do you react when you believe that thought? Then number 4, how would you be? What happens, or how would you be if you didn't think that thought? Then that's not about denying the thought, it's just about considering how different, without changing anything else, how different your life would be without that limiting belief. Then what you do is you find an alternative to that belief that is at least as true, if not truer. And then you put your your mind to finding examples of that. Now, I've truncated it a bit for you because it's quite an in-depth process. It takes a bit of contemplation, so I've shortened it a bit. If you want to find out more about the process itself, then check around my YouTube channel. There will be information on there about that. But this is the shortened version, and again, you can use your cards for this. So pick a limiting belief. What is the limiting belief that holds you back? About what do you believe about yourself or about your circumstances that's holding you back? Pick one. You never need to deal with more than one at a time. Just pick one, make a note of it, and then question it. Ask yourself, is that belief really categorically, undeniably true? And don't rush this, because one of the temptations can sometimes be to just say, oh, yes, it is, or no, it isn't. But don't do that. Give yourself time to really consider deeply whether that thing you believe is uncategorically, or is it categorically? I never get that right. Undeniably true. Really question it and take time to consider it. And then, once you've done that, you find an opposite belief that is at least as true, if not truer. And it's not, again, this is not about pretending, it's not about being in denial. It's got to be something that is genuine for you, that is at least as true or truer than the limiting belief. And then you energize that. You find that, you make a note of it, and you put your energy into building that up. So, let's take stock. You have found a manifestation goal. You've drawn on your awareness to get really solidly in touch with it. You have chosen to commit to working co-creatively with that goal. And when I say co-creatively, I mean with the creative power of the universe, however you conceive that. You've energized it in the way that we've described, both in terms of any actual practical practices and behaviors that can move you forward, but also in terms of the magical and mystical and energy-based practices that many of you are so well versed in. You've done that. You've moved forward with that. You've energized it. You've also done some work now on untangling the obstacles that are between you and the achievement of that goal. Then something manifests. Something comes into existence in your life as the next thing you are given to deal with. That's just the way that what life works. I think we've all noticed that, have we not? We get results, for better or worse, from the things we do or don't do. There's really no choice. You're going to get more results, more things that you become aware of in your life. And we're back really to the surrender. Sorry, we're back to the awareness side of the cycle, but here it's about surrender. And I don't mean surrender in terms of, just passively accepting anything that happens. I mean surrender in terms of acceptance. And another quote from Eckhart Tolle, which I think is really lovely and really powerful about this, and it really highlights that this part of the process is about acceptance and gratitude for whatever happens. Accept and then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. This will miraculously transform your whole life. So it's a bit like, instead of when a problem hits you, instead of the first thing you say being, oh, damn, actually saying, oh, okay, so this is what I've got to work with next. This is what I've got to deal with next. And then we get to work. There's real power in that. Real power in that. And what's really powerful about it is it reminds us that we are part of this ongoing, never-ending cycle. Something comes into our awareness. We can make a conscious choice about how to engage with it in our lives. We can energize the good things that we want more of, and we can untangle the obstacles that we have to deal with. And then the result that comes back, we accept in the moment that it happens. It doesn't mean if those circumstances are difficult, by the way, that we just say, okay, that's the way my life is now, I'm just going to accept it and not move forward. It's not about that at all. But instead of resisting what's happening in the moment, we consciously engage with it. And then we're back to awareness. So we're back to, what do you want? What do you not want? How do you then ride the next wave of creativity that comes along? You're back to making that choice of how you engage with it and how you energize it. So you can never get this wrong. You can never get this process wrong. And it's one of the things that when I work with coaching clients and tarot clients, that I have found can really, it can be the point at which people feel genuinely empowered, maybe for the first time, when they realize that it's not like a scorecard that's being kept about whether you've got it right, whether you've done this cycle right, whether your results are better than anyone else's. It's yours, and whatever shows up is the right thing. You know, another quote from Byron Katie that I love is that, you know, things don't happen to us, they happen for us, even the really difficult things, because we can always learn from them and we can always move forward with them. Okay, now that is a very quick canter through the model, and I know that many of you will have found ways already to make that your own. I hope you'll use it in your own practice and when you work with other people. And I'm going to try and move my chair forward without making everything collapse. We're now going to do a reading, a couple of readings in fact. The first one is a reading that is about helping you to get in touch with each of these different areas. And then the next one is actually about making it happen. So let me just quickly run through these, and then we'll try and take some questions. I say we, sounds like the royal we. I will try and take some questions at the end if there's still time. So this first reading is a face down reading. So you're going to do it in the normal way. You get your deck of cards, you shuffle the cards, you choose them randomly face down. What I would suggest you do, I find this really helpful to do to anchor the reading, is you can either take the aces out of the deck you're using, or you can use a different deck and take the aces out. But I would arrange the aces in the order they appear in the aces approach, the aces cycle. So the ace of cups, the ace of swords, the ace of wands, the ace of pentacles. And then you're going to draw a card for each one of those. And you are, of course, drawing a card for each of the parts of the cycle, for awareness, choice, energy, and surrender. You're also going to have a hidden card. So I'm going to just talk you through this process now, so that you can do it. And what I suggest you do, I'm not going to tell you what these position questions are. You know broadly what they relate to, so that this is genuinely a process where you're going to get what you're given. So trust awareness, trust this hidden power that's integrated through everything, that we are, that you are, that I am, that everything is. Trust that to ensure that the right cards turn up for you, because they will. Shuffle your deck, face down. Take a deep breath, get still, get centered, and pull your 4 cards in the way that you want to do it. 4 cards face down. You can, of course, after you've done this, you can add other cards if you want clarification, but for now, your 4 cards face down from the top of the deck or from wherever in the deck you normally pull from. Now that you've done this, before you turn them over, at the bottom of your stack of cards, face down on the very bottom, take the bottom card, still face down, and put it to the right. That's your hidden card. That's your gift. Okay. And then, one by one, you're going to turn the cards over, and you're going to see what answers you have been given to the following questions. First one, what helps me to be aware? What is your first card? What does it tell you? What helps me to be aware? And again, if you want to pull a clarification card, now is the time to do that. Pull another card just to clarify that for yourself. Number 2, moving on to choice. What supports my co-creative choice? And again, pull another card if you need to. Then number 3, energy. Where is my energy best placed now? What does that card tell you? Make a note. First impressions are fine. That card is what you are given. Where is my energy best placed now? Number 4, surrender. How might I surrender to where life now leads me? So how do you get that acceptance and gratitude in your life? How might I surrender to where life now leads me? So that's your gift on the, that's your, each of these cards are the gift in terms of those different phases of awareness. But now your hidden card, the one that you pulled from the bottom of your deck, that's your gift on this manifestation journey. So what's your gift card? What gift have you got to carry with you? Okay, and again, you can pull clarification cards for any of those. What some people do, some of my clients have done, is they pull, you maybe do this with a tarot deck and then they use an oracle deck for the clarification cards. Some of them pull the hidden card just from an oracle deck. It all depends on how you want to work with this. This is a fluid, flexible ACES spread, and it's up to you entirely how you do it. But hopefully you'll get some insights from that in terms of how you can move forward. So that's the kind of, the traditional spread of what you're given. The next one is actually more of a manifestation exercise. This is the vision board exercise that I told you about. This is about making it happen. So for this, what I want you to do is choose your deck or decks. You can use more than one. Again, it can be tarot or oracle. And this is where you can get really creative. So choose your deck or your decks that you want to work with, and then choose a really clear, specific present tense goal or goals that you want to work with. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're writing a book, maybe you're writing a novel, and you want it to do really well, and you want it to be accepted by the readership that you're hoping to offer it to. So instead of just saying, I want my writing to be successful, make it really specific. My novel is a bestseller that wins prizes and changes lives for the better. Make it really specific. Make it really blow it up almost into something out of normal proportion. Be very Jupiterian with it. Give it some real kind of oomph for you to work with. And then what you do is you go through your deck or your decks and you choose the cards, face up this time, you're looking at the cards that represent your goals or the different elements of your goals. And so you take the time to do that. And then what you do is you energize them. Now the energy part, there's lots of different ways to do this. You can, if it's an old deck and you don't mind cutting your tarot deck, if it's an old one that you're comfortable doing this with, you can make a collage with those cards, or you can copy the cards or take photos of the cards and make a collage with the images. You can add additional cards to it. You can add affirmations on post-it notes to the cards. Of course, you can use oils and incense and crystals to energize the card. You could do that exploratory tarot spread that I just talked to you about. The ACES spread, you could do this for each one of your goals, asking yourself these questions for each one of the goals, using perhaps the cards that you've chosen as significators. Brianne Love says, my oldest is my favorite. Well, it doesn't have to be oldest in the sense of the one that you've had longest, but I know what you mean. You don't want to, I would not cut up my Tarot of the Old Path, which is my oldest deck, or at least the deck I've had for longest. No way would I take scissors to that. So you find your own way of working with that. The other thing that's fun to do with this is make it an artistic exercise. I had a client once who did this exercise, and what she did was she took the cards that she chose and she made them into a kind of a collage or a mandala. But then what she did was she then made a representation of that collage in clay. So she translated the meaning of that collage to herself and sculpted it in clay because she was a sculptor. And that sculpture looked nothing like the cards, it looked nothing like anything else, but it was powerful and meaningful to her. So you do what you need to do to give them your energy. Use them as the basis of ritual and spell work. One of the simple things you can do, of course, is arrange them on your altar. Any other kind of dynamic method you can think of. This is about how you energize your goals. And that, my friends, believe it or not, is the end of the process. Well, not quite, because I promised you a gift. And your gift is your free tarot manifesting guide. That's the cover of it here. This is the PDF guide, which basically incorporates everything I've just told you. It's got the spreads in it, it's got the exercises in it, it's got the mantras in it, it's got all the different elements of the ACES model, it's got everything you need, everything I've just talked to you about, everything you need so you can practice this method yourself. and also so you can work with other people with the method. The way you get it is very simple. You simply go to my website, cormaccarr.com/manifest. You'll be asked to put your name and email address in. If you've already done that, because I have got another guide which many of you have downloaded, if you've already done that, you'll just be sent this guide straight away. If you haven't already done it, you'll be asked to confirm your subscription. So you'll get an email from me that says, are you happy to subscribe? Check your junk mail if it doesn't appear. And then you say yes, and then this will be emailed to you. Now, I want to just say, and I shouldn't say this because this is not how one does digital marketing, but I'm going to say it to you. I don't want anyone to be inhibited from getting this guide because you're worried that you're going to get sent lots of spam emails. I promise you I will not send you spam emails. However, it is entirely up to you whether you stay subscribed to my list or not. So you can subscribe, you can download the PDF, and then you can unsubscribe straight away if you want. I don't mind, but I hope you won't. I hope you'll hang around, because that list is the list that I'm going to be communicating with when I've got more materials coming out. And I am working on some things at the moment in the tarot field. I've got a book that I'm working on. I've got some digital courses that I'm planning. So there are more things coming down the pipeline, and I want you all to be the first to hear about it. And the people on my list will be the very first to hear about it. And then, of course, my YouTube subscribers and Facebook followers will hear about it as well. So that's what to do. And by the way, if you haven't got my other guide, which is called Tarot Cards as Wisdom Coaches, there's a link at the back of this guide, which you can then go to, and you'll be able to download that guide. And what that guide is I mentioned earlier the idea about the cards being more about asking questions than delivering answers. Well, in that guide, I've taken each of the 22 major arcana cards, and I went through a kind of contemplative process with each one of them, a bit of kind of path working and meditation with them. And they gave me, if you like, each one of them gave me 5 empowering questions, so that when they appear in a reading, those questions can be asked. So that guide has got all of those questions in it. That's like 110 questions, if my maths is correct. And I've got those questions, by the way, for the whole of the deck, but the free guide is just the major arcana, but more will be following soon. So I want you to make sure you can get hold of that as well if you haven't already. So those are 2 things for you to get hold of. And then one last plug, just so you're aware, I have got a Facebook group called Tarot to the Nines. You just search for Tarot to the Nines or Brian Cormac Carr Tarot on Facebook, and that group will come up. We're up to about 700 members now. We have great fun in the group. We're learning a lot from each other. There are some lovely people in the group. Some of them are here, and I'd love to see more of you in there. So please do join if you feel that that would serve you. And that is my session. So I'm not going to hang around for too much longer, because I want to respect your time, and I've been on for almost an hour, but I will just pause for a moment. Thank you, Brianne. That went way too fast. It went fast for me as well. I can't believe that we got through all of that. Glad to see your happy smile and fantastic content as always. Thank you very much. Well, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to see you all here. And I'm delighted this went well. I was a bit nervous earlier because it's been so long since I went live on YouTube. And YouTube does this weird thing of it gives you the time, but it's like an hour out. So I was convinced that it was going to make me suddenly go spontaneously live at 9 o'clock or something instead of 10. So I hope this was a good time for you all. I am intending to do more of this in the future. So that'd be great. So have you got any questions for me about any of those things? If you've got any questions, please just pop them in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them. And thank you all so much for being here. It's so great. And thank you to Simon and others who are moderators. I kind of sprung this on them a bit spontaneously because I only just decided to do this morning. So it's really kind of them to be here and to help moderate the chat. I really appreciate it. So let's see. One of the things I did see go back a bit further on, but I wasn't able to get to it when we were going through one of the other elements, was somebody had asked if I use this process with all of my coaching. I think what you asked was whether I use this with all of my coaching clients. Well, here's the thing. With my coaching clients, I don't always use the tarot with them because not everyone is open to that. So what I tend to do is if I think somebody is open to it and I think that the tarot might be helpful, I will just make them aware of the fact that I work with the tarot cards. And I do tend to work with tarot cards more in a coaching coaching kind of mindset, if you like, rather than a predictive mindset. So what I'll usually do is say we can use the cards, if you like, to help with you moving forward in your goals. And many people say yes to that and find that useful. But I never just spring it on them. I never kind of like pull it out. But the ACES model, I'd have to say, is kind of always in the back of my mind whenever I'm working with a client, either a tarot client or a coaching client, or if I'm training somebody, because it's so universal and because I hope you can see it works in so many different areas that it's just always there. And of course, it came out of my thinking, if you like. It was clearly there, and that's why at some point it just had to come out and be written down. So I certainly do use that whenever I can. So I think we're there. So thank you all so much for being here. I will close now, and I'll be back very soon. Don't forget to get your guide. What I'll do is after I have finished this session, I will make a note of that in the description, the YouTube description. So if you haven't got it, you can come back and click on the link and get it. And thank you all so much for being here. It's been great to see you. Enjoy the rest of your weekends, and I'll see you here again very soon. Take care, everyone, and I will give a hug for you. Absolutely, I absolutely will. It's been she at one point wanted to come on to here, but she didn't. So I asked her if she'd